your back and push back and bubble up and wind up. I know you want me, I know you want me, I know you want me, and I like it like this, just like this. And I like it like this, just like this. I like it like this, just like this. I like it like this, just like this. I like it 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 like this.
Backpack music.
Georgia, me love you. Keep me strong up and the wicked them I try to overcome. Yeah. Thank you for life, Georgia. Oh yeah. I feel so happy today. Yeah. Thank you for life. No, Georgia. I feel so happy today, yeah. Listen to them, no listen to them. No matter what them walk and talk, in a me yard, straight up me carry for them, yeah. Say them are my friend, yeah, but I'm me enemy them, yeah. No matter how them try to bite me still a sorry for them. Oh Georgia, you see I know them. Please just show them, don't make them pass me. Me just want to know them. Shall you control I know your destiny? Yeah, you alone know what's best for me. Whoa, wicked I'm out the street now, like sand on seashore. But me there, I say. Thank you for life, Georgia. Yeah, I feel so happy today. Yeah, thank you for life, boo-boo, Georgia. Jesus, I give a praise. Yeah, oh, yeah. I tell you, here I come again. We'll come again. We see the world again.
President, good night to all and sundry. Just testing, just to make sure, of course, the robot-like propensity does not exist tonight.
None of them. Yeah, cannot go around me. Oh, yeah. As your love surrounds me, each and every day.
That being as it may, of course, I could speak with assurance and with authority and hope tonight, of course, that we have an uninterrupted program because the time is too significant. The time is too important. The time is too critical for us to be laxing or lapsing or in any way procrastinating. Yes, we must not. Because you see, Thursday must reach. And I would like you to see uninterrupted from now until Thursday the opportunity, or put another way, no one must have the excuse of not making themselves physically present on the Brand Lara Promenade outside of the Express House so that we can deliver those letters that we have now grown accustomed to. And I want to tell you the background behind that, you see, because it's important that you understand the rationale. Quite apart from the fact that we are satisfied and there are sufficient evidence to demonstrate that this government is a bunch of miscreants, a bunch of rapscallions, a group of individuals who clearly have not just weaponized government against the people, but have captured government of Trinidad and Tobago in such a way that they have, of course, transformed it in a kind of metamorphosis, and to have it parallel, the government that is parallel to that of the PNM, that is clearly a criminal enterprise. I say, like Rowley has said from time to time, that they construct and they tailor things towards wrongdoing. Let me repeat what Rowley said in the past. Tailoring things towards wrongdoing. And yes, indeed, oh, how he has manifested, lived, projected, orchestrated, choreographed that very statement that at one time we thought that he had the moral and ethical and the paragon of virtue elements and sentiments to so announce. But we know now, not only is he not a corruption buster, not only is he a corruption promoter, not only has he disappointed, not only has he demonstrated unpatriotic zeal, yes, unpatriotic zeal, a propensity that is unprecedented, unexpected, and cannot be countenanced or tolerated by any self-respecting citizen. And therefore, we should now be contemplating a citizen arrest, since the police, since law enforcement will not do it. We should be contemplating citizen arrest. I mentioned that 2 or 3 nights ago, and I see that it has, of course, gained traction on the ground report. And I want to say that is a fair, that is a realistic, that is a non-compromising position, as the police would have compromised, or law enforcement would have compromised their responsibility to, of course, act in the interests of the people, and in the taxpayers' interests, and in the interests of the citizens of this country. And therefore, we have a duty and responsibility to engage in citizen arrest of the entire cabinet, as far as I'm concerned. But in particular, Rowley and Imbert, they are the progenitors, the orchestrators, the genesis of this travesty, of this evil, of this not just a debacle, but certainly a catastrophic imposition on the people of Trinidad and Tobago. That is where we are. That is what we must focus on. And therefore, on Thursday is another cog in the multiple cogs that must be recognized and therefore addressed in such a way so that not only does the law enforcement agencies and institutions that are responsible for protecting and generating the checks and balances that are required, of course, to make certain that our treasury is protected from such kleptocratic individuals, a mafia in nature, and a criminal enterprise in substance. Yes, indeed. And therefore tonight, we will show you Imsbert in better times. You see, better times for them is when they can go to sleep comfortably and after having instituted pain, ache, agony, drudgery, evil, wickedness, and diabolical behavior on the people, and they go to bed and laugh. Well, these days, he bamsy palpitating because he does not know where his latest iniquity against the people of Trinidad and Tobago, having, of course, clash with the Auditor General, or who has stand her ground, and therefore we as a population must say, as we did on the last occasion, say to you, our Auditor General, well done in the defense of our democracy, in the defense of independent institutions, in defense of the rule of law, in defense of course, of the separation of powers, and most importantly, in defense of our financial resources that clearly has been so depleted and frittered away that we are now talking about from $10 billion in 2015 that was left there by Kamala Prasad Bisesa and the UNC, and today it's about $4 billion in reserves. And we do not know yet what is the true calculation with respect, of course, to the Heritage and Civilization Fund. Or what we know, however, is that they met the $5 billion and counting in the Heritage and Civilization Fund. And having regard to the fact that I think between 2021 and 2022, it made a loss. It made a loss. And for the first time, as in fact did the NGC. Yeah, the NGC too. And of course, in recent times, we see that they are trying and doing their utmost to destroy Republic Bank and First Citizen Bank by providing a sweetheart loans for Naikwan, the owner of which is a good friend of Rowley, and of course, the man who organized the telephone call from Trump to Rowley, pretending, of course, that because he is so important, Trump called him. At that time, he was insignificant. In fact, let me put it another way, and more corrosively, he paid for that call, that rapscallion called Rowley, and pretended to be a prime minister. He must have no traction. We showed you, of course, and all over social media today and moving forward, that Ghana is, of course, a financial basket case, and of course is in the jaws of the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. How Rowley could tell us that hitching our economic wagon to Ghana, and according to him, with the usual hyperboles and the body language to suggest assurance and authority, when in fact the man is an acute case for what? For inferiority complex. So that is what he is suffering from. That is what he's suffering from. All that talk he talking and all that big talk, it turns out that Ghana is in the traps or in the jaws of the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. The last, of course, the tranche of a 60 billion bailout was, of course, in January. Rowley had a responsibility to at least, if only by the way, to tell the population that Ghana is in fact in an IMF program. But no, he wants to sell the story. He wants to sell the phantom. He wants to sell the fantasy that somehow he, having used our money, not for the first time, to go on these vanity trips, and of course, now probably have the record as a prime minister for the most trips and the most expensive in totally at the day, and it's not done yet as far as we can assess 2025. But had the temerity, the gall, this rapscallion, when Kamala Prasad Bisesa went, of course, on national, he was first, he is high flying, and even went on to suggest that she commandeered a helicopter to use as a taxi from maybe Port of Spain to her home in Philippines. That was the evil of the night is yet early. But for sure, as I would always know, that he's a blasted racist, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and the whole world must know that. Of course, tonight, you, of course, call in. We will, of course, accommodate you. But I want to get into the meat of the issue. You see, that was, we had a sleazy laughter. And he was, of course, distressing psychologically and financially and economically, and as far as employment creation is concerned, the creation of none, but could spend too bad. Well, these days, his backside is palpitating. It's moving faster probably than his own heart, because he don't know where this matter of the Auditor General will lead. And I see that Rowley has already thrown him under the bus, but in a half-picked duck nature. You see, something similar to what he did to Al-Rari, what he did to Daryl Smith. Yeah. What he did to Robinson Regis. You see, because he believes that he can leave, of course, a loop or window open so that if Imbert emerges out of this quagmire that he has found himself in, this imbroglio, this public spat with the woman who is responsible for monitoring and checking as a check and balance our finances, are talking about the Auditor General. In case he emerges, Rowley leaves a window open. Nothing different. That is part of the playbook. Nothing different to the deputy DPP on the matter of the fake, yes, fake is the operated word, but fake emails. When after 3 years, she said that it is inconclusive. And so that you could give Rowley the opportunity to say that because it took so long, he being, of course, the man who kept it that long, he said he kept it for over 6 months, and then carried it, of course, to his friend Ken Gordon, who was then, of course, the head of the Integrity Commission. And that was so despicably unholy, unwholesome, unethical, that, of course, Gordon had to either recuse himself or resign. Yeah. Because Rowley always wants some unfair advantage, and, of course, utilizing the position he holds and the resources of the country to have people do illicit acts to get an unfair advantage. And then you have some stupidities calling themselves PNM sycophants and apologists, saying that PNM is a cult and they are infallible. No! It's a criminal enterprise. And they engage in plain and unadulterated and regular human iniquitous conduct. Manipulate, conspire to stay in office so as to do, especially the working class, and reducing, of course, the middle class, and therefore stealing from the people. That is what they are. They are a mafia enterprise, a mafia syndicate. therefore a criminal enterprise. And don't tell me you don't understand what I'm talking about, and all I have to do and you have to do is to refer yourself to, of course, Balize House. Let them say how they got that over $100 million after Rowley said in 2015 that the PNM was bankrupt to the tune where they were owing over $4 million to several entities, including, of course, other private service providers to the PNM up to that time. And don't tell me that because they're in office or the hogwash that Rowley will tell us that somehow all of the ministers and all of the PNM lackeys who hold office, all of them gave all of their monies, all their money. They so love the PNM, they give all of their money to build that monstrosity called Balize House, over 100 million. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Yeah, good night to you, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you.
Everybody, Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to not to take away from what you heard about the new thing they have on the portal implemented. I guess is on June the 1st. Well, the shipping company, I guess there's a June 1st number. So if it's a barrel, a crate.
I am not getting you clear.
Or what is that about?
I'm not getting you clear, but I know that in the making, in the pipeline, is an arrangement to, of course, have shipping between Guyana, Trinidad, Barbados to start with. Is it that you are referring to, and the application or the deployment of the galleon?
No, not that. When it is anybody, no. When anybody buy anything from foreign, if you buy from like Amazon.
Yes. You have the tax. I know about the tax already, but they're introducing a BI. They're saying anybody have to clear anything now. You have to walk. If you don't have a BI, I was in Trinidad for a short time, and most of my life I lived in the States over here. Right.
So I don't know nothing about that. But they're saying anybody who going to clear on the port now, if you send a barrel or a package, or if you buy something from Amazon or wherever from foreign, you have to have a BI number. What does that mean? That means you have to pay more taxes, or how does that go?
Well, it simply means BIR, of course, Board of Inland Revenue number. BIR, that is what that means, Board of Inland Revenue. It means, therefore, they want to, of course, know more than just what a ID card or a driver's permit will present as your ID. It looks as though they want to know about whether or not if you have access. That's why even though that's a tax collection exercise, because you go to collect your barrel, or you go to collect whatever package that came from some online transaction, you have to pay a tax that was introduced by this government. So it looks as though this again. Yeah.
Yeah, the Kamala government, the taxes was cheaper than it was recently.
Yeah.
People could, since this, I'm not gonna like to tell you, Mr. Lennox, that is be shipping a lot of stuff to Trinidad, and since these people take over, the taxes are sky high on the port over there. I guess that's why a lot of things went up in Trinidad,
Yeah, so they put on is it freight? No, not freight. That's not the term for airlines.
Customs and duties on the port.
Apart from that, if you are sending a small package, let's say a transistor, well, I don't even have it still, but a small radio or a pair of socks, for example, they tax that, they introduce that as a new tax here.
Every single thing get taxing on the port. I just wanted to find out what's the BIR. Surprise, they're coming
BIR,
up.
of course,
so
the Board of Inland Revenue. That much I know.
Them they serve don't know.
Yeah, but it has to be something more sinister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lennox.
All right, okay then. It has to be something more sinister there. And it reeks with, of course, IMF signature. Yeah, these fellas are pursuing a IMF agenda. All these taxes, and you would see from the video that we have tonight about Ghana and Rowley's, of course, return visit without telling us. And I really want to ask anybody out there, do you think that it was the duty and responsibility of the Prime Minister, claiming that he's the best salesman for Trinidad and Tobago, and forget to tell us that Ghana is in an IMF program? You know why it cannot be that he forgot? And hoping that, of course, the people of Trinidad and Tobago will not know, and people like us will not, of course, when we know and find out, we share it with the people. You know why? Because he wants to dominate and to generate the level of winking an agenda that, based on that information that we have, is another failure. He told us on the other two occasions that he went there that we were getting at least seedlings, yam, dashing, planting, etc. None came. And then he rehashed and regurgitated, of course, the whole question of getting some kind of stake in the Ghanaian gas and oil industry. It being, of course, a recent addendum, older than Guyana, but nonetheless much, much recent compared to Trinidad and Tobago of over 100 years. And, of course, exhausting domain for gas and oil. We have, of course, all the structure for petrochemical, should I say, development and processing. But the fact of the matter is that you must see Rowley as a deliberate attempt to skulldog, to deceive once again, and to conscientiously omit information that he must have known that once it becomes public information, it will reduce the efficaciousness and the potency of the so-called South-South across the Atlantic relationship between and Trinidad and Tobago. So he went on in his what I consider to be garrulous to deceive. And he talked about, of course, they have a market for 2 million people and they are a gateway to 200 million people. All of that hogwash. And talk about, of course, of economy of scale, and if Trinidad and Tobago get 5% or 1% of that, of course, we will be better off, etc. We were told that before with respect to sandals. We were told that with respect to the train one that they spent $200 million to maintain, and we didn't see a cent, neither with that of sandals. We see the same thing with the Cabo Star and the Galleon's Passage. He said that we could be getting that boat right now for some $200 or $300 or $3,000 less US. But yet still, the Cabo Star is still working, and the Ocean Flower had to make a hasty exit because it was smoking up Shagaramas. And we cannot find the Galleon Passage at all. What we are hearing now, no longer is it going to be deployed in a fictitious and illusionary and deceptive for the people of Toko and that particular constituency. I'm talking about the constituency of Toko, Sangre Grande, that they wanted badly. So he went up there and he told them that the port for Toko will be constructed, both for the local government elections, not the one last, but the one before, and for the national elections as well, 2020. He told them that. He also told them that the local government reform will see an enhancement because, and making the argument for property tax, and that is all it was. Property tax implementation and palatability was the major objective of that exercise. He didn't care about whether or not the services of local government agencies and those corporations would have been improved. Today, 6 months after the elections, regional corporations, particularly those of the UNC dominated, and the Tobago House of Assembly as well, are craving, are demanding, are saying that they have been shortchanged and that their regular vote, their regular funds coming from central government have been curtailed, and therefore they have difficulty in cleaning cesspits, recreational areas, cemeteries, and minor roads, and the maintenance thereof. Yeah. It's always some kind of hoodwinking to stay in office and believing that their political stocks will somehow be augmented or increased, or they could continue on that journey to find another deception when the time comes, when they would have, of course, failed. They are total and absolute blights. Where is the port for Toko? And now you are talking about, as the caller I thought was referencing, that the Galleon Passage must now be deployed in this arrangement among the three CARICOM members, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and maybe Grenada. But I warn that because of the difficulty that the Galleon Passage experienced in going or traversing between Trinidad and Tobago, up and down, through the Bocas, etc., take Trinidad and Tobago is led down a further precipice, a further gulf, a further patch, with extreme financial prickles. If that arrangement between these three countries have a shipping line or shipping arrangement to transport CARICOM residents, CARICOM citizens to and from these various islands, take care the Galleon Passage causes further not just embarrassment, but well done, a tragic episode, while of course traversing between these islands. The Galleon Passage has been left and kept as what I consider to be huge secret. We don't know, and I'm sure that it has to be maintained, just as of course the Train 1. These people are simply blight. They are cursed. What the hell we are doing with a cabinet that believes that its existence is based on lies, deception, and of course, a criminal conspirators' behavior to deprive the ordinary Joe in this country and therefore taxpayers. What? So there is its birth in better times, and better times for them is as what the Germans will say, the expression Schadenfreude. They have a propensity, a proclivity, a predilection, and a predisposition to what? To laughing at people when they institute their evil. You know what I say Schadenfreude, a German expression for persons who laugh gleefully in the misery and the pain and the agony and the distress of others. That is Rowley, and is typifying of his entire cabinet. They laugh at us. But as I say, the Lord moves in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform, and every day, as the old people would say, is not Sunday, and evil cannot prevail over good, and that the longest rope has an end, and that, of course, the evil you do will follow you. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when we first set out to deceive. Yes, indeed. But let us first look at what is giving Ibsbert sleepless nights these nights. What is giving Imbert sleepless nights these nights? What is giving Imbert sleepless nights these nights? Let's go straight there and see what it is. Yes, indeed.
Did publish 6, according to her letter, that those were backdated is patently false. I just want to make sure that I got the first point clear, that I'm saying that any allegation is crystal, right? That we are saying it's patently false. Okay, that any allegation that the amended public accounts received by the Auditor General on the 16th of April, according to her letter, that those were backdated is patently false.
That is what is giving him sleepless nights tonight.
The constitutional impasse with respect to the Auditor General's report for the financial year of 2023. And all of this stemmed because there is a missing $3 billion worth of revenue in Trinidad and Tobago. The Auditor General, through her report that we have seen on various networks and news agencies, is that there is a missing $3 billion in revenue. So on the 31st of January, accounts were submitted to the Office of the Auditor General.
Let's start all over, in case you just join us. And of course, I want to say a pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central, or French and Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web, a pleasant good night. good day to you. Of course, the lines are open. We will pause, of course, for your comments. And don't forget, of course, on Thursday from 1 o'clock, we have a mission and a destiny that says that we have a duty and responsibility to defend our democracy, government by the people, of the people, and for the people. And therefore, this Marudian bunch of opportunistic political parasites must understand that they cannot prevail, must not prevail, and as the Greek would say, that who the gods wish to destroy, they first send them mad. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Yes.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Lennox.
Good night to you. Yes.
Have you let your back channel runner?
If what?
Your audio was off for a while.
It was off? Oh my goodness. All right, okay, thanks. I think it's back on now. It's back on now. That way you call for? All right, thanks. Thanks very much. Yes, indeed. Sorry about that. I was merely saying, of course, evil cannot prevail over good. And that, oh, what a tangle web we weave when we first set out to deceive. And that who the gods wish to destroy, they first send them mad. And Rowley and them gone mad. Total and absolute. Let's go to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Pres Galan here, listen.
Hey, good night, Pres Galan.
Yeah, normal.
Yes.
But man, I don't want to believe that the Prime Minister didn't know this whole thing with the Auditor General was not going to happen. And to me, it looked like he thought by the time he come back in the country, this whole thing would have get deal with.
Well assessed, but my friend.
Beautiful
assessment.
Yeah, and he come back. He come back now, and he just don't know what to do. Or playing like he don't know what to do.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
I locked on and listening, Mr. Smith.
Thank you very much, man. You're a brilliant fella. Go to the top of the class. That is exactly what has happened. He thought it would have blown away because he said that since March he had wind of that development. So let's not waste time because it was in April the thing reached ahead where there was, of course, even pre-action protocol letter as Imber tried to, should I say, involve the Attorney General to send, of course, the Auditor General a pre-action protocol letter to threaten her, but she didn't back down. And when they got, of course, with a high degree and a almost unrelenting piece of trepidation, the shock when, of course, she employed Alan Ramlogan. You see, I'm sure that they are now regretting that they did not take that approach, that Imber didn't approach the Attorney General, and obviously they would have conversed to take that approach against the Auditor General. So that if they did not do that, the Auditor General would have been obligated to seek legal advice from the Attorney General. But the Attorney General very quickly and early compromised his neutrality. He can't be neutral because he took the side of Imbert and sent a pre-action protocol letter on behalf of Imbert. Today in the court, the Attorney General, because of his bias and the approach that he engaged in this whole matter, the court tell him they don't want to hear from him, the Attorney General. The court said in the matter that is now before the court with respect, of course, to the Auditor General, stating that group of persons that Imsbert put together, who they are now claiming is a cabinet-sanctioned group, yet they have gone mad. Imbert was boasting, remember that, saying that who Kamala wants to initiate an investigation in my ministry. It had to be me, meaning Imbert, because it's his ministry. And he tried, of course, to be coy and tried to be, of course, dismissive, and they tried to be vitriolic and tried to play smart, and he ended up being an ass. End up being an ass. Yes, people. So in the court now, where, of course, everybody have to make their disclosures, and they have to, of course, create, of course, what is normally now considered to be case management scenario, so that the judge, the sitting judge or the adjudicator will make, of course, certain orders for them and give certain instructions for them to abide. Well, he said he don't want to hear from the Attorney General. You see, poetic justice is a hell of a thing. Poetic justice is a hell of a thing. Some call it karma. And as I said earlier, the evil you do will always follow you. So Imbert had to end up having a lawyer now represent him outside of the Attorney General. And those lawyers responding, of course, to the Auditor General's lawyers, Anand Ramlogan, said in no uncertain terms that it was the cabinet that, of course, initiated that group of individuals that he, Imbert, say he has put together on one occasion in the Parliament, of all places, in the Senate, saying that he put that together to find out, because he has two versions as to how over $3 billion in the initial stage became missing. And then, even though there was reconciliation of the figures, there is still an outstanding 700 million of your money and my money. These fellas playing the fool. They cannot account for, in addition to, the Auditor General cannot find receipts to support $1 billion in expenditure. So they're biting and like they give away with money just so without getting a receipt. That is what we have. That is what is unfolding, people. That is what these fellas are claiming is good government and good governance, and that they could manage the affairs of the people. Well, I tell Imbert and they, if that is the kind of management that you all have been, of course, exhibiting over the last 9 years so far, then I say to them, get to hell out of office now. That is simply unacceptable, untenable, cannot be countenanced, and is impossible. It's impossible for them to remain in office with that level, and they're trying to call it a discrepancy. No, that cannot be a discrepancy. I will classify a discrepancy if it was a couple $1 million, a 2 million, a 3 million, a 4 million, even possibly 100 million. But 700 million, and in the previous incarnation, $3 billion, and them fellas still there. We must effect and engage in citizens of arrest detail, Rowley, he, and everybody. Citizens arrest. We have that in our jurisprudence, and we have that as part of our evolution and law enforcement apparatus or mechanism or system or practice. We have that. That is what has to happen, because Earl Christopher, the Commissioner of Police, clearly will not to do it because she's beholden to Rowley and they. And those have a moral and ethical responsibility to say enough is enough and demand, and not doing it, whether it be, of course, the Law Association, whether it be the various business organizations, whether it be the Chambers of Commerce, whether it be, of course, the Tobago Chambers of Commerce, whether it be the San Fernando Chambers of Commerce, whether it be, of course, the Energy Chamber of Commerce, whether it be the Chaguanas Chamber of Commerce, and whether it be the Turnup, and we can go on in terms, and including, of course, the Dongchong Merchants Association, all of them, they have not cried out, they have not expressed their disapprobation and the total disgust with that kind of conduct. Yes, people. So we, the people, when we assemble on Thursday at the Brian Lara Promenade to deliver letters to Imbert and to, of course, the police and the National Security Minister and the, of course, Law Association and the Chief Justice, we must, of course, make a loud, a solid and resounding reverberation of discontentment and the reality that these fellas who and women who are in the offices claiming to be ministers and a cabinet are total and absolute criminals and must be dealt with from the perspective of the criminal justice system and the civil justice system, because we won back our monies that they have stolen. So let's go back to Imsbert, and see why he is not a comfortable man today. He's not the individual that is saturated with arrogance and assertion, believing that somehow he's aloof and that he won't get catch. But as the old people say, the thief could thief as much as he wants, but it's only one day for the police. And Imbert, Rowley, of course, is claiming now he know nothing about that. He throwing him under the bus, but at the same time, he trying to tell us, to give him some kind of saving line. There's some kind of straw. There's some kind of lifeline that we must listen to the government side and not the Auditor General side, as if we are fools. No, Rowley, you have lied, you have connived, you have deceived. Your mendaciousness knows no boundary, and your prevarications are monumental and resonates with every single citizen in this country that has a conscience and are aware of the shenanigans and the evil and the misrepresentation and the hoodwinking and the deception that your government has, of course, typically, idiosyncratically have demonstrated over the last 9 years. Let's hear the reality that has caused him to have a palpitating bamsi time. Yes, it must be palpitating because he don't know where this thing will end. For sure, it's the end of his career. And for sure, the possibility of criminal charges when the new Kamala Prasad Bisasa administration comes to office is real, because they cannot to even hoodwink themselves to stay in office at this point in time. Yeah, you want to make sure. Just as Rowley said,
any allegation that the amended
side.
public accounts received by the Auditor General on the 16th of April, according to her letter, that those were backdated is patently false. I just want to make sure that I got the first point clear, that I'm saying that any allegation...
Listen carefully.
Is crystal, right? That we have
to the Auditor General's report for the financial year of 2023. And all of this stemmed because there is a missing $3 billion worth of revenue in Trinidad and Tobago. The Auditor General, through her report that we have seen on various networks and news agencies, is that there is a missing $3 billion in revenue. So on the 31st of January, accounts were submitted to the Office of the Auditor General indicating that Trinidad and Tobago revenue for 2023 was about $61 billion. Subsequently, the Auditor General was informed that there were issues with respect to the accounts and that the actual revenue for Trinidad and Tobago would have been $64 billion, which means that there's a $3 billion gap. When the Auditor General audited the accounts after the amended accounts were issued, she still could not find the $3 billion, and therefore that was in fact reported, and that is now a matter of public record. But what is interesting is this, is that the Auditor General has raised a very serious matter with respect to the backdating of the accounts of Trinidad and Tobago, because she had in her possession 2 accounts for Trinidad and Tobago as at the 15th of April 2023. And the both accounts were dated the 31st of January 2024. And I have copies of the both accounts. And these 2 accounts would have reflected various figures, but have the same date. One account was actually delivered to her on the 31st of January 2024 with the revenue figure of $61.8 billion. The other account would have reflected a figure of $64 billion submitted to her after the 31st of January 2024, but was backdated to the 31st of January 2024. Submitted to her after the 31st of January 2024, but was backdated to the 31st of January 2024. Submitted to her after the 31st of January 2024, but was backdated to the 31st of January 2024.
Any allegation that the amended public accounts received by the Auditor General on the 16th of April, according to her letter, that those were backdated is patently false.
There's another issue.
Prime Minister
Listen carefully.
has been given until 4 p.m. Wednesday to respond to a actionable letter sent by the Auditor General's legal team. If Minister Imbert fails to respond, Freedom Chambers will file a claim for judicial review challenging the legality of the investigation announced on May 7th. The investigation, headed by retired Justice David Harris, was set up to investigate the circumstances surrounding the dispute which followed the Auditor General's Public Accounts 2023 report. The letter calls on the minister to cancel or recall the investigation. Ramdas's attorneys say neither the minister nor the cabinet has the constitutional jurisdiction and lawful authority to investigate the action and conduct of the Auditor General. They say it is only the Public Service Commission under Section 121 of the Constitution that has jurisdiction. The letter also states that the Finance Minister appointing an investigative team is clear and self-evident. Opposition leader Kama Prasad Besessa previously argued that only the Public Service Commission has the authority to investigate the Auditor General. In last week's post-cabinet media briefing, Minister Imbert called her argument nonsense.
It was only on the 16th of April that the amended public accounts were accepted. I had said in the Parliament, look, I don't want to dive too deep into this because, you have one group of public servants saying X, another group saying Y. So the whole purpose of this team that has been appointed and is headed by retired Justice David Harris is to talk to all the public servants involved and see if we could get some clarity on what really happened, basically. Well, nonsense uttered by the leader of the opposition. It's nonsense because in the Senate, I said that I am going to conduct an internal investigation to investigate the facts within the Ministry of Finance. So who is supposed to pick the team? I ask the leader of the opposition to pick the team? It's nonsense. Any allegation that the amended public accounts received by the Auditor General on the 16th of April, according to her letter, that those were backdated is patently false. I just want to make sure that I got the first point clear. That I'm saying that the allegation is crystal, right? We think it's patently false. Okay, that any allegation that the amended public accounts received by the Auditor General on the 16th of April, according to her letter.
Why he was so meticulous to say that it was patently false, that there was no backdated if he said that that was strictly one group of public servants versus another group? How? Why? Why? Secondly, why he said that he I singular. He never said that would be the first person. But he said I appointed. And he went on, of course, to castigate the opposition and saying that, of course, the Civil Service Commission, which is an independent, constitutionally protected entity for the purposes of checks and balances, he said they ought not to be operationalized in the present circumstances. He, Imbert, was the one who's, of course, if you choose him to investigate why that huge sum of money was not recorded in verifiable documents, and choose to, of course, to investigate, my common sense will tell me that the must make some kind of question. Imbert is given the impression now that it's just civil servants alone outside of the Auditor General and her staff would be questioned by, or immune, will be isolated, the investigation will be completed without the involvement of the Auditor General. And therefore, on principle, when he was making his decision, he ought to have consulted at least the Auditor General to tell the Auditor General, listen, I am contemplating to put a team of persons together to find out why members of finance and the Central Committee acts as to their agreement or his agreement. But no, he went unilaterally in a shop and picked his team. He was under serious interrogation or having questions to answer. He Imbert, but he chooses. He's smart. So the Auditor General simply waited, and as he spoke his nonsense outside of the law and like a madman rant, certainly having a bout of cognitive and cerebral decline, intellectually and otherwise. In other words, the man metamorphosized to a total and absolute buffoon. An ass, in other words. Yeah? Because you have not consulted the Auditor General to say that you are doing that, who will of necessity have to participate if the work of that so-called committee to be other people. And at least if it is that the staff of the central bank and that of the Ministry of Finance is at or are at variance, so what the 3 billion, that 3 billion that could not have been accomplished. Well, we say in this case, Imbert must know that he must consult the approval of the governor of the central bank. Because remember, central to this whole exercise, Imbert stories about the same thing. That is, of course, should I say, always of this government is Imbert and whether, of course, is any member of the cabinet. 3 and 4 stories the same. That you wonder if these people are them are for real, or what university they went to, or if it's that they write and infer sentences together and that they cannot, of course, make a good excuse. So the point I am making is that these elements must consulted, you can unilaterally come to somehow and the Auditor General will respond, and of course the central bank governor will cooperate, infringing, of course, on these institutions and offices. Imbert is a madman. A pleasant good night, welcome. Pleasant good night, welcome.
The question is that what if people are missing in this whole conversation? That this missing shortfall error is from 2020. That is money now is up to approval, right?
Yeah.
To give the approval that the was before. So which means I'm trying to twist it because somewhere along the line, the allegation is that the money is stolen because if they can't give back out, no document. Because you will have one, after you read your budget for 2023 to 2024, you would have done what in place because you know all where you spent and what you have done. So we should play smart with foolishness and we have and how we are explaining to them. They have to understand that going in there is a chronic thief. Good night.
Yes. Well, of course, it was Rowley who brought up the assertion that of course, crime is a what? A public health matter disaster. So maybe we could ascribe to Imbert that he is a chronic and a pathological thief, since he cannot. And still, of course, even though there's a reconciliation, he can't account for 700 million still outstanding, and of course, expenditure of over $1 billion in addition to $700 million. But let me get back, of course, to rationalizing and to, of course, evaluating what is taking place. We have as well the Prime Minister who having returned from wherever he went, have not told us that the cabinet took a decision to institute that team. So it appears that Imbert is on his own. He tried, of course, to throw a lifeline by asking people to believe the government side. At this stage of the game, when, of course, the matter is before the court, they should haul Rowley tail for breach of his responsibility to observe the well-established principle of sub judice. Yeah, he wants the population, Rowley asking the population to believe the government side. In the face of all of the evidence that shows that there were two different figures and both of them were dated on the same date that was submitted to the Auditor General. Imbert is saying no and was meticulous and was very insistent that the journalists and they record that. Notice that he was meticulous. Record that the submission in April 15th or 16th, it was patently false. That document had the 31st of January equal or similar to that of the first submission by his ministry to the Auditor General of the sum of $61 billion, $3 billion short when the calculations were ratified and extrapolated against receipts, or should I say sources of funds, sources of income. And then subsequently, even with the later one that the Auditor General said had a similar date to the original one, but it was for $64 billion and still had, of course, a shortfall of 700 million. That is clear. That is common sense. That is simple arithmetic. Why Imbert is trying to insult our independent, individual, and collective intelligence. Why? because they see us as fools. But his ass is grass because the Auditor General is not taking it lightly. And so there was the first, of course, case management exercise. And of course, I think about 2 months' time, they have to, of course, go back to court to treat with what? The Auditor General said that you, Imbert, must withdraw that committee that you put in place to investigate this so-called $3 billion so as to absolve yourself. She didn't say that part, but I saying that because that is what that piece of circumlocutive action, that kind of red herring scenario to try to deflect, because what didn't work? The pre-action protocol letter coming from the Attorney General, and the Attorney General has been, of course, excommunicated from the whole process. In the court, that is. And he probably glad for that, because he might have had to answer. But Rowley is saying, as all of us know, that's a dangerous development for the financial sector and the financial accountability in Trinidad and Tobago. Because what the international community, those people who we are owing money, those institutions that are local, regional, hemispheric, and international will be thinking of Trinidad and Tobago, a simple exercise like that is practiced annually, and it brings, as some people are inquiring, some people are speculating. I wonder if the same thing was happening in previous years and the Auditor General of the past, before this current Auditor General, was merely rubber stamping. And Rowley and them felt comfortable to ratify this present Auditor General in the position, thinking that she would be a rubber stamper as well. Well, the cuckoo cook. Their asses are grasses. And of course, the strong possibility, apart from citizen arrest, apart from breach of fundamental principles and rules and laws connected to the Integrity in Public Life Act and the Exchequer and Auditor Act and several other acts. It might also be acts that refers to larceny, fraud, misbehavior in public office, abuse of office, malfeasance and misfeasance. All of those are applicable. People. So people, we await. But let us go straight, of course, to when Imsbert was at a more glorious time, when he was in his element, and he was castigating and being contemptuous and believed that he's untouchable, and that he could do no wrong, and that he could, of course, he and Rowley and his cabinet abuse the people's money, the taxpayers' money, and implement, of course, taxes and so on that are inimical and evil and onerous and distressing to the people. Believe he could do that. And now that the table has turned, you see him in a different mood. His entire countenance is in a different mood. He's more somber. But no, that is wolf in sheep clothing. We must not relent. And Thursday, of course, when we assemble, we must demonstrate that in non-certain terms. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night.
Good night, Lennox. How are you going, boy?
Well, of course, as per usual, doing the people's work.
Well, I was listening to your partner. I was on station this afternoon.
Yes.
And it seems to me like your partner, Juliet and Chico, was calling some sort of extended leave, but they call it vacation, but it may be suspension.
Well, obviously, you know, there's a nexus between what has happened to Justice C. Prasad and that statement that she would have made with respect, of course, to the outcome of the Kokro matter.
Yes, and that is fair.
And I spoke of course, of poetic justice and karma. Well, she is probably also paying for instead of offense and go and deal with them.
The boy Lennox, since she went, the home invasion has been on the upswing.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
That, and I call her the mother of home invasion.
That is sedition, man.
And the thing is, Gary didn't act on that, eh? Gary was the man in control.
Because he was in the drawers of Rowley and they had him under heavy manners, obviously.
Boy,
sometimes you have to act on people. Probably.
Well, I mean, the people need justice sometimes when they're inciting stupidness like that.
Yeah.
They still the outcome will be at the end. The John public had to pay for it. After last week, I see two they went and pull out the woman bag, jump in a canton and they chop out somebody's hand or something last week. Boy, these things came on scary.
A senior citizen as well got to the worst side of it. I think somebody they threw some inflammable liquid on somebody because they didn't have any money and all of that. Well, but let me just take this call as well. Pleasant good night. Yeah, just hold on. Yeah, just hold on. I have another person on the line. Yeah, hold on. Go ahead. You finish.
Check your audio. I just got to tell you. Check your audio, Lennox.
All right. Okay. Thanks.
Only a minute. Give me a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the same station, right? I was listening to these callers, these PNM callers. They calling and thanking the Prime Minister for going and meeting this man from India to bring a sports academy in Trinidad.
Yeah.
But I hear him talk that is the Pancho and Diego grounds, the visa land that they have there, that is what he gives them.
Yeah. And we have to find out what Pancho and Diego seem to be comfortable with that. They moved to Port of Spain and they can't have a competition in their own yard. Up there, of course, was extremely spacious, and I'm sure it would have been much more usable for Pan because Pan is a very cumbersome thing. Yeah.
They can have an academy, they can have a library, they can have all kind of thing there.
Yeah,
right? To function there. Boy, people selling out left, right, and center in this country, you know. I will leave it there.
Yes, my friend. Yes, indeed. Yes, so we have to look at that, but that's another matter. Let's go straight, of course, to what Imbert was before his sudden transformation. You see, they like to play dead, as my mother would say, to catch Kobo, play dead to catch Kobo alive. Yeah. They love, of course, to be acting as wolf in sheep clothing. But they're dangerous like hell. They're dangerous like hell. Don't give them a chance. And we must not relent. And we must not succumb, and we must not in any way become complacent. Otherwise, we eat the bread that the devil need, as is the case as we speak for these rapscallion, and my mother would like to say Norarians, but really and truly, they are persons who are undeserving of being in office. They have weaponized government against the people. They have brutalized the people. They have taken advantage of the people. They have oppressed the people. They have sent them back in a retrogression that is not just oppressive, but one can say that is almost Neanderthalic. Neanderthalic, yes. Cavemen. That is what they want to create. But blue lights and silver bracelets must be the order of the day for this entire cabinet. when one looks at the recusals that has taken place over the years. Recusals alone, blue lights and silver bracelets. Let's go straight to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor.
Hello.
Good night. I hope, good night. I'm hearing you.
You know, you hear me right?
Yeah, good.
Well, you know, the meeting now finish and we have to hear Kamla, right?
Yes, of course.
Now that the internet is giving a lot of trouble. I tell you, I can only pick up maybe the last half an hour or something.
Yeah,
anyway, Lennox.
Yes.
Yeah. We are in a state of, we are living in a state of fear and distress. We have to secure our homes with cameras, additional burglar proof, and whatever. We still have to pay this government rent to live in our own homes. They are not securing us because no hands from Miami.
Yes.
Rowley just come back from from on his bucket list.
Yes.
Right? Traveling himself. Coming back, tend to set up job about what a bacchanal, unnecessary bacchanal, and unnecessary.
Yeah,
but
that's a cliche. That's a cliche to pacify and to psychology, a reverse psychology. But that's all right. Go ahead.
It was good because.
Yes. Oh boy.
Actually making.
We get a challenge, boy. You're breaking up.
Because the internet.
You're breaking up.
Long
open spaces, long silent spaces.
All right, let me try again.
Okay, go ahead. I'm picking you up. No, I'm picking you up now. Yeah.
You hear him?
Yeah. Wow. We are not doing justice to each other. That we are not hearing you at all. Yeah, you sound like how I would song to you the last 2 days. Yeah, go ahead. Beyond that, I simply was breaking up. All right, we call back. I'll try to take you up on the handset and see if we'll have a better
I'll try to call back. That's
try. All right. I'll take you up on the handset. All right. All right, people. Of course, let's go straight, of course, to the better times. Better times for Imbert and them is when they were obnoxious, they were evil, they were diabolical, they were conniving, they were in the apex, in the zenith, in the hay of their unleashing of incompetence, impotence, and the what clearly is a kleptocratic mood, and that is to say, when they were stealing and raiding and have their nasty tentacles up the cookie jar of the nation's treasury. Let's go straight there and hear him. How obnoxious he could be, but pretending now to be holier than thou, and has a bout of what? Self-righteous indignation, plain holier than thou. Rowley has that tendency too, as well as, of course, the others, when their political stocks and their poor character further reaches below the white line. Yes, below the white line.
Might have a next budget to come in. Budget to come in. That might kill them.
Because if this is causing so much pain and diarrhea, if this is causing so much pain and gastrointestinal distress,
Fuel subsidy is not targeted for removal.
I raised the price of fuel by 15%. I then realized that was not enough. I came back again and I raised again by 15%. And I came back again, raised it by another 15%.
Yes.
They haven't rioted yet. So I might raise it by another 15%. They haven't rioted yet. They haven't rioted yet.
In which Imbert said 2016 said to all finance ministers. They informed the parliament. There was a conference in TNT last week with challenging TNT and the economy, and during that conference,
I sought and put this video because it was too significant. Apologies for us, laugh at us. We tell him so because they were complaining and therefore their oxygen become asphyxiated. Yeah. That was one instance. The other instance, when he was out of office, I was interviewed, Imbert, and he told Imbert was out under the Manning administration that he will change because and he had so much work to do and he was focused on the work. And we don't take holidays because he only iron our money and ways to of course, dispense with it through deprivation of the population. Yeah. So it's not the first time that he would appear to be pious and condescending and subtle and calm and amiable and possibly magnanimous. But all of that is pretense, people, because on those two occasions that I could, of course, recall very distinctly, how come that happened in the past and he has demonstrated his well-known for arrogance, contempt for the people, and sleazy laugh. I have any sympathy for him. And I will invite, of course, those sycophants, and I had to also take note, be cognizant of the deception of Imbert and playing that he Bamsi palpitating, and of course has very little recourse for the show.
Right. No, you think it's because the tape or you're playing every morning? When Imbert said Petrotrin was making money.
Yes.
You think that's why Rowley trying to throw him under the bus now?
Well, he has no choice. It's a matter of survival now. It's either me or you. Rowley is telling himself now that if it's he, is the whole evil and therefore hell will be in uproar.
Well, watch me. If I say no food, tell her they make no Gene Miles, you know. He must have no food, tell her they make him no Gene Miles, you know.
Sacrificial lamb.
Because remember, it's all of them. I camera talking.
Yes.
Right? The kind of money work, Chung and all these people. No, we are no brief for him, but for these big stupidness way just talk. But here, let them police on and he go do something, you know. Because Rowley done throw him on the bus already, and I tell him himself. He tape all the time. That Petrotrin was owning the money. I'm only wait for this opportunity now to get rid of him. You hear me, Lennox?
I hear you.
You get the chance now to get at Imbert, because remember, Imbert showing you one side. They had no right to close down Petrotrin.
Yeah.
I'm only went there and
Yep. So there was disagreement, but all of them conspired to eventually, because silent is consent as well.
But you don't know. Maybe they wasn't communicating. And don't forget, Rowley said he was not going to close it down and all this, right?
Oh, yeah. When they initiated, of course, several studies to see how they could restructure never contemplated the closure of the oil refinery. Yeah.
That they ask grass now, you know.
Yeah, as is grass and more. All right, I see a whole set of calls coming in now. Like you caused that out.
One thing before I go.
Yes.
You see, people don't like your neighbors, that you like animals with one another.
Yes.
I just talking to all of them who listening.
Caller, just hold on. I have another person on another line. All right.
I have a little advice to them people, you know.
Yes, go ahead.
Neighbors should watch one another house. You know, like my camera should be focused on the neighbor gate.
Yes.
And his camera focus on mine.
That's right.
So he could see by me and I could see by him.
That's right. It comes down to that now. It's cooperation now and making certain that the criminal elements do not prevail. Is about seeing about yourself now.
Stop living like dog and cat.
Yeah.
I want my camera on your gate, your camera on my wall or wherever.
Yeah.
I have a cell phone now, so anything we can call police quick.
That's right. That's how it should be.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, because
you don't I watch it for me alone. And I can't you going by you.
Yeah.
And you watch it for you alone and you can't.
No, you're right. And I'm going to mention that on the ground report tomorrow.
And why you mention that? They have to cooperate.
Beautiful advice. Yeah, beautiful response to the criminal element. Yeah.
Tomorrow we go talk some more about Lennox.
Yes, indeed. Let me just go to this line. Yes.
Right.
All right. Okay then. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
Yes, Mr. Lennox.
Yes.
Listener, it seems like the government is going after the Auditor General because the president gone out of the country, right?
Yeah.
And remember what happened to the former governor of the central bank?
Yeah, a similar scenario.
How did we move him?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is a similar thing happening right now.
Yeah.
And I noticed another thing happening, another thing apart from what is happening, but this is related. I see Amber backing out now, right?
Yeah.
And the grand lady report in Parliament Friday, he had a lead now because remember he back off from the case.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So listen, earlier on I was looking at the Kamala show and the Kamala talking about the billions of dollars that money gone.
Yeah. Our debt to GDP now is almost what Ghana did, and in terms of our IMF program, almost 100%.
You know, this country should be broken.
Yeah.
The country broken. The country
mismanagement by con men. Criminals.
And this scam come back in the country successfully.
Yeah, you see, they saw some dominating the by hoodwinking. Bananas, all of that. We know what they will do, and we're ready for them. Then like to pull up, of course, Imbert saying that the oil refinery was making money. Neither did Rowley believe that we would have found out that Ghana is in the jaws of an IMF program, and therefore it's bad news for Trinidad and Tobago. he didn't know that. Yeah, on top of it, and of course Thursday will be a knockout in that Rowley and they must go expeditiously. Yeah.
But listen. Yeah. One more thing before I go in now. Listen, we have a fraud squad in this country.
Yes, we have. But we have to make citizen arrest now. We have to make citizen arrest of these ministers. Make citizen arrest.
Yeah, these people have to be locked up. There is massive fraud of corruption. There's evil people. They have an answer, you know. You see, one child who was born here of them. If you know, angry when I was looking at the report, I said, what the hell going on in Trinidad and Tobago? What are people doing in this country?
So many people didn't have a meal to eat today, or didn't have a meal today,
yeah, boy.
And deprived of having to go to school. Can't go to school because of transportation, or they didn't reach on time for breakfast, and all of that kind of how much.
Well, let them go bread in here for that, boy. I go on with that.
Yes, man. Yes, indeed. Of course, we have another call. Let's take another call. The calls are coming in furious now, I suppose. Yes, pleasant good night.
Lennox, I watching the news last tonight, right? I see the Body ram on somebody, I think it's a policeman funeral, and saying give her a chance. We feel this a quick call or two.
Don't mind them and the stupidness. Them they
Yeah,
want us.
I
They
know,
want us. They want us to tolerate their incompetence, evil, and criminal behavior, to keep them in office, to do us more. That and a pink donkey they will never see. Yes.
He's singing for his supper, so he could say that.
Yeah, they're mad.
People who suffer.
They want to be. They see in me that which is in them, not me.
The young lady who got kidnapped because of extortion, I believe that was going on. They sent a voicemail to the people telling them they want certain amount of money or they could deal with them. And that is the main form of intimidation and criminality taking place now in this country.
Yeah.
Criminals calling you up and telling you to pay money. How she ain't holding nobody on that? She did for a whole year and change, and I hear none of the gangs in they keep working with arrested for that.
On the one hand, you have something called cock tax. Well, of course, in this case, is
business
security tax.
Security tax. Yeah, business tax.
Yeah,
business tax.
Security. Business security tax to allow you to continue to do business. That's the security tax we talk about.
Up to the people on the highway, they tax them in else. They tax you have a store on the highway.
Yeah.
A man, you get something, I show you them, they have to pay because that is where they reach it. And the police said they have no form of catching these and reading us of these criminals and them who do perpetrating all these crimes. Before I go, I see the failure fight holding a parallel meeting. And Dinesh Rambali come to talk, right? Yeah. Let me stop all this infighting and all this shit. Why are they holding parallel meeting? It's supposed to be in the UNC now. Are they getting all the way with all the election just now? What all they want again? Yeah? Why are they holding parallel meeting for?
Well, to me, the greatest presentation was Rodney Charles. I think he reminds me of a Latin expression, non compos mentis, of unsound mind. Because Kamala was right when she said that because he's some kind of octogenarian, he wants everybody else, of course, to the mid office because he was praising the others, Rambali, the representative for not Tabakit, for Tabakit as well. What's her name? Anita. Yes. She and somebody else, but saying that that is the kind of talent that the UNC want. Like he forget that they are parliamentary representative for and on behalf of the UNC. I say the man gone mad. That's the kind of talent the UNC want. But they are in fact operating at the highest level in the party, the parliamentary representative. And he is saying that is the kind of talent that the party wants. I don't understand these fellas and them.
They go get a working paper sooner or later.
Well, yeah, of course. They would have gone the way that others have gone in the past. So we know that. So we're not going to waste time with that. But thanks for that intervention. Yeah.
Nobody in the party.
All right, people. So let's go back, of course, to when Imbert had more what I consider to be salubrious times. At times that he would wish is occurring right now. As his Bamsi takes where he will end up. Preferably, of course, as far as the population is concerned, blue lights and a bunch of thieves. Let's hear him as he laugh at us and of course having to apologize. But I told you in the context in which I included this because I want you to see that it cannot change its stripes nor a leopard its spots. Rowley and Imbert and they are obnoxious, evil, wicked, diabolical, and no way we of course chance take these fellas again.
I made certain statements, and having reviewed and looked at the tapes of the comments I made, and the manner in which I made them, I realized there's a lot of people, and therefore I take this opportunity to unreservedly apologize to all of them. His apology was by laughter from the opposition.
Fuel subsidy is not targeted for removal.
I raised the price of fuel. I didn't realize that was not enough. I came back again and I raised it again by 15%. And I came back again, raised it by another 15%. They haven't rioted yet. They haven't rioted yet. They haven't rioted
yet. Because if this causing so much pain, if this external distress, what's going to happen? Next come in. Might have a next budget to come in. That might kill them because this is causing so pain and diarrhea. It's causing so much pain. Gas. What happened in the next budget? What?
So nobody these constraints, these rapscallions, and dangerous. There is stress for Rowley existentially, and we must accept that. But go to some of the days that will not be. I know another day where we will look at and other issues, some of the technical issues which I have no knowledge of. I depend on others to do. And tomorrow, what I consider to be free, like on the current. And don't forget, we have a problem where we'll be doing, of course, subsequently letters to various entities in support of democracy that has been interfered and attempts to destroy, and of course, government that is they believe that the government is for them. People are wanting them, and you, democracy. Of course, this morning, the government continue to treat with, and of course, a long time I haven't been this one, but I think it's so of course, let's have a party out of the 1 by 1, 2 by 2, Christopher Rowley, a total rapscallion and a mafia syndicate of an organization called the Criminal Enterprise. We their early and demise. We become victims of their evil, brutal, and oppressive administrative and political.
Might have a next budget to come in. Might have a next budget to come in. That might kill them. Because if this is causing so much pain and diarrhea, if this is causing so much pain and gastrointestinal distress, because if this is causing so much pain and diarrhea, if this is causing so much pain and gastrointestinal distress,